Have you ever wished you can run your business on autopilot? Well, you can. Stick around and I will show you exactly how. If you're looking to replace yourself, scale your business, manage your time, or grow your sales, I'm about to show you an 8-step hack that achieves just that and much more. Before I do though, let's take a minute and talk about what is actually an autopilot. An autopilot is basically a pilot on auto, right? So I want you to imagine this. If you were a pilot on duty, flying a plane from point A to point B, and you were sitting in the cockpit, you would navigate successfully by reacting to readings provided to you on a cockpit's dashboard, right? In that same manner, autopilot can only be engaged if these readings were available and dynamically updated. Autopilot does nothing more but reacts and utilizes these readings similar to how a pilot would. Now imagine that you didn't have a dashboard, or that you had false readings on your dashboard. What would actually happen? The worst, right? Now let's apply this analogy to business. When you're at work, every task you do would be to accomplish a specific goal or objective. Think of every goal and objective as similar to a pilot who's flying from point A to point B. Point B being the goals and objectives that you're trying to reach. Ask yourself this: are you flying blind? Or do you have in front of you all the right indicators and readings you need, and when you need them, to get you from point A to point B? With point B, of course, being your goals and objectives that you set out to achieve, whatever they are, be it on a long-term or short-term basis. That's what this session exactly is about. We're going to make sure that you have the dashboard that enables autopilot to take over the navigation. The dashboard, which consists of key performance indicators and balance scorecards, is a management tool that has been in use across most companies since the 70s. And to this very day, it remains among the most adopted management tools across organizations and businesses, of all sizes, by the way. Unfortunately, though, most companies today commit one major mistake in the way they build their dashboards. That one mistake makes these dashboards in most cases useless. I say this because we've seen it across hundreds of our client companies that we've worked with. And by the end of the session, I will reveal to you that one mistake that can make or break your dashboard. Let me tell you what we're going to go through in this session. We have divided the session into 2 parts. Part 1, we will go over the simple 6 steps approach being used today to build dashboards and KPIs. And we will end this session with the one common mistake companies make in building their KPIs. And you know what that means. If your cockpit gives the wrong readings, or not the readings you need when you need them, the worst can happen. We'll end part 1 with a link to part 2, and I will share with you a simple Excel file that you can use to practice building your own dashboard. Well, part 2, that's where you can use what you've learned in part 1 to build your autopilot. So let's dive deep into this hack, but stick around until the end to get the best part and autopilot your business. So before we get started, if you're interested in learning more about hacking your business model, please do sign up to our free live training on 2020hacks.com. That's 2020 Hacks. It's free and it condenses over 1 million hours of engagement work to give you the 3 secrets you need to transform your organization and get solid results. As I just said, KPIs, balance scorecard, that relies on business analytics and data mining remain among the most popular tools that have been in use since the 1970s. Bain & Company periodically conducts a survey of over 1,000 corporations worldwide every few years, then uses the results to rank the popularity of management tools. You can find that directly on their website if you're interested. Just Google Top 10 Bain Management Tools. In part 1, I'll give you a brief introduction and then walk you step by step through the 6-step approach that's typically adopted for selecting the key performance indicators. And I will end part 1 with the most common mistake in implementing key performance indicators today. In part 2, I'll guide you through the 8-step approach of the hacked framework which will enable you to manage your organization on autopilot. Now let's dive into the first part. The balanced scorecard consists of a set of key performance indicators. A key performance indicator is a quantitative or qualitative measure that tracks a specific dimension of the business. Balanced scorecards allow managers and owners to monitor the performance of their business against a predefined set of strategic goals and objectives. KPI uses extend to monitoring and measuring individual performance, accountability, and team development. There are 6 steps to developing balanced scorecards. In the following pages, we will discuss each one separately. If you're using balanced scorecard today in your organization, that's most likely the approach you've adopted to build your dashboard and KPIs. Or you may have used a slight variance to this methodology, but in all cases, it would be pretty close to this method. And before I forget, if you're interested in learning more about hacking your business model, please sign up to our free live training web class on 2020hacks.com. That's 2020hacks.com. It's free, but seats are limited, so make sure to reserve your seat. In step 1, you need to have defined your goals and objectives. Traditionally, organizations develop goals and objectives based on strategic plans, which consist on a list of priority strategic initiatives. We won't get into strategic planning here, but we do have a separate session on strategic planning hacks and common mistakes. If you're interested in that session, just add a comment below. Step 2 involves assigning a reference to each goal and objective. The reason for this is that KPIs are different at different levels of an organization. They start from the top with a set of business goals and strategic objectives and are then cascaded down, but then aggregated bottom up at each layer of the organization. At each layer, you would then end up with a set of KPIs that are a subset of a layer above it. If that sounds confusing, let me illustrate that in an example. To simplify the illustration, let's assume a set of 3 simple goals and objectives for a department within a steel manufacturer. There are 3 principles for designing, selecting, and identifying KPIs. The first principle is that KPIs should have a cause and effect relationship. This, we believe, is one main shortcoming of traditional balanced scorecard development, but we will get to that in part 2 though. The second and third principles state that balanced scorecard should be simple and balanced. The rule of thumb is to keep the number of KPIs per balanced scorecard below 20 indicators. The third principle states that KPIs that make up the balanced scorecard should be balanced. That consists of quantitative and qualitative measures and has to fall into one of 4 categories: financial, customer, process, and people dimension, which, by the way, may sometimes have different nomenclature and may be split into 5 dimensions or 6 dimensions. For example, they may add innovation dimension as a separate dimension. The process of identifying KPIs should be according to the MECE principle and link each goal to the reference that we've identified earlier to ensure that all goals are covered. That helps avoid duplication and overlap. For those of you that never heard of the acronym MECE, it stands for Mutually Exclusive and Collectively Exhaustive. MECE, pronounced MECE. In step 4, the formula to calculate the indicator is developed. And in step 5, it's where we set the frequency or the period for updating the KPIs. Step 6 is the final step, and it's where the targets are set. Targets are what KPIs are measured against. They may vary in time. For example, you may have targets adjust according to cyclical sales. Hotel bookings adjusted per season as an example. As I mentioned earlier, targets should be really achievable. There's no use to setting unachievable targets because setting unachievable targets may lead to cheating or may discourage staff from giving the balanced scorecard tool any importance. All KPIs are displayed on a dashboard for the purpose similar to the examples we discussed earlier, the cockpit of a plane, or simply a car dashboard. The visualization range anywhere from simple traffic lights indicators or bar charts and gauges, line charts, but in all cases it should be easy to read and interpret. As I mentioned earlier, traditional dashboards and balanced scorecard are mainly used for performance reporting and performance management. They're also designed to complement strategic planning. The key issue with the approach that we just illustrated, which is how traditional balanced scorecards are developed, is based on what we call the reductionist methodology. Rooted in physics, reductionism or analysis is the process of breaking down or reducing a large system to its constituent parts, and then describing the entire system as the sum of its individual parts. Do you remember the cause and effect principle we discussed earlier? That's one example of how, when we analyze these individual components in isolation and put them back together, we ignore how they interact and neglect the time component and feedback loops. Reductionism in balanced scorecards, as traditionally conducted, has substantial limitations, which we will illustrate in part 2 of this session. The reductionist analytical approach is what's adopted among most problem-solving methodologies today. It is based on incremental, linear progress. And while it's important to recognize that there is nothing wrong with this linear methodology, as it has proven highly successful in many ways in history, be it from understanding atoms, DNA, designing modern corporations, the reductionist approach was great in the Industrial Revolution and got us where we are today. It is, however, limited and not adequate to our more complex world in which we live in today. The hack we're going to show you in part 2 will enable parts of your business to run on autopilot and will overcome this limitation that we mentioned earlier about the reductionism or the reductionist approach. In addition, it will augment the balanced scorecard so that they can also be used for risk hedging and advance your business one step closer to what we call a high-performance organization, which is the performance organization into perpetuity, so you don't have to go through a transformation program every now and then. This wraps up part 1, and congratulations on making it this far. If you're familiar with balanced scorecards, then this should have been a breeze for you. Now, for the best part, go to part 2 as indicated in the description. This is where I'll be revealing the 8-step hack you need to take to transform this tool to run on autopilot and turn it into a modern-day tool for 2020 and beyond. And don't forget, you can learn about this in more details and learn how to hack your entire business model and not just this management tool by signing up to our free live web class on 2020hacks.com. That's 2020hacks.com. It's free, but seats are limited.